Okay, hi, that's me. This is an ongoing video clip. Okay, on September 8th, I had a tooth pulled. And a lot of people have teeth pulled. It's not a big deal. I had my four wisdom teeth pulled in high school and college and had no problems. I didn't have anesthetic. They just went in and pulled them. I had a very good dentist who's no longer practicing and is gone up to be with Jesus, I'm sure, by now, because he was quite a bit older. And so he was my parents' age. And so, anyhow, I hope he's still around, but you never know. So, I had broken a tooth a couple months prior, and one of my back molars, and it had been funny for quite a while, and just all of a sudden it just broke. And I thought, well, I could go in and get it capped or crowned or whatever they do. So I went to one place and they refused to do it. They did an x-ray and they didn't give me the x-ray. So then I had to go to another dentist because they refused to help me there at that dentist office. So I went to a new one, and I'm very happy with her as a dentist, and I'll probably be using her as my dentist. And so she took a bunch of x-rays, and she came to me and she says, oh, hon, she says, you know, you have an infection way down at the tip of that root. And if I go in and try to do a root canal, I'm not going to get it all. I'll tell you that right now. My instruments won't get down that far. It's too tiny. She said, I know what I can do as a dentist, and I can't take care of that tooth. And so we talked about it. And she gave me, I think it was like $4,000 to do a root canal and put a cap on the tooth or a crown or whatever they do. And I thought, ooh, that's not good. And so she said, I think I would just have it pulled if I were you. I'll give you a couple names of oral surgeons. There's a group up in Canton that you can go to. She told me where they were at. And I said, okay, fine. So I called them and asked how much it was to have a tooth pulled, and they gave me a range. And I thought, I'm going to have to put it on this credit card, and hope I can, have enough in my bank account to pull out to cover this tooth because it needs to go. And so I went in on September 8th, and I thought I would just have a meet and greet. Well, it was anything but a meet and greet. It was, let's pull a tooth now. And so they went ahead, and I was kind of nervous because, I'm high risk for anesthetic and usually like to have my anesthetic in the hospital in case I code. My mom had a reaction to fraying, and I still don't know what my vascular collapse was that had contributed to it, if it was anesthetic or not. And so I was kind of nervous about going under anesthetic at a dentist office, to be honest with you. So they went ahead and they did it. And no sooner did they pull a tooth and I barely got awake from anesthetic, they ushered me out the door. No antibiotics, nothing. Here's a list of things. Just don't use straws. You can get dry socket. Well, I didn't use any straws. And I still ended up with dry socket. So I got home, and that night while I was sleeping, I woke up in fierce pain shooting to my middle of my brain and my ear, and I was miserable. I was like, how in the heck is this supposed to be? Well, I had a suture reaction to the sutures. I had dry socket. And then I also had this infection spreading from the root canal because it had gotten into my jawline. That was so far down in, it had the root of the tooth was just pouring the infection out. And it had just kind of started to take over. So I called them and I went back. And they said, well, we'll give you some clindamycin. So they gave me 10 days of clindamycin. And they took the sutures out. And they told me to use cloves. Well, it didn't do any help. It just took the pain away for maybe an hour, and then it was right back. And they didn't tell me how to make a clove pack at home, or they didn't give me any extra clove packs to take home to use, or anything like that. I mean, I was in a bad way. I was in a really bad way. And Gary kept saying, I'll take you up to ER. I said, what would the ER do? They don't have oral surgeons on an ER. I've worked enough ERs to know it's hard to get an oral surgeon to come into ER. Unless you have a broken jaw, then you might be able to get somebody to come in. But anyhow, they usually schedule you for surgery the next day when they're rounding. But anyhow, so I was miserable. And I took my 10 days of clindamycin. I wasn't any better. Had the sutures pulled, was given clothes, all this stuff. And then I called my family doctor, and he gave me 7 more days of Clinda and thought that would take care of it. No, not at all. I still was hurting. And so I was in the back of the house, had showered, and was getting ready to go to my infusion or neuropathy appointment. I don't know which one it was. And so had gotten dressed and brushed what few teeth I have now. And I said, I turned around, and there was Jesus. I kid you not. There was Jesus, knelt down just outside my changing room with a brown robe on and a rope sash. He had a hood up over his head, and you could see his hair through like when you have a hoodie on. And it was brown, and he had a beautiful smile. Beautiful, beautiful individual. And I wasn't afraid. It wasn't a stranger. It was somebody I knew, who was Jesus Christ. And he had his arms stretched out as if to say, come on, child, let's go. And I said to him, I says, oh, I'm so glad you're here, but I'm not ready to go. I know I prayed to either, I was the wilted flower in the garden to take me or to heal me. I said, I just need to be healed. I said, I have a sick brother. I have dogs that need me. I says, I worry that he won't take care of him if something happens to me. I said, I can't leave him. I says, I promised to my little 5-year-old dog out in the crate out there that mommy would be here for him. And we keep the dogs crated a lot because 2 of them don't get along. And so they get out and they have their times out, and then they go back, and then the others get out and have their times out and stuff. So we rotate them. So it works out good. So usually at night, they're crated, but I might leave one out to wander the house. I might leave 2 out. It just all depends on how I feel that night. But anyhow, so to make a long story short, Jesus was there, and I talked to him briefly. I had the walker in front of me, so I have to hold on to a walker because I'm so unsteady. And he just left as quick as he came. And he healed me. It wasn't like he went up and he put, but he did a healing on me while he was there in my changing room. And if you've watched the Chosen series for this is the 3rd season, I believe, or the 3rd grouping that they have. I've been watching on Roku, so I haven't caught it during the actual day that it's on. So, but Jesus does different things when he heals people. Depends on if they're dead or if they're just really sick or they're crippled or how long or just what it is. But this was quick. This was a quick thing. And it just amazes me that he showed up in my changing room to help me get better. He knew that my tooth was going to take my life. He knew that. And he came and he healed me. I came out to the table, and I knew I had antibiotics. Quite often, if the antibiotic's not working and a kidney infection or something, my doctor will pull me off and put me on something different. I'll just keep that aside for later. And then if they put me back on it, I'll finish up that, and then I'll take down to, like, if they say 10 days, and I'll have 5 days extra or whatever it is. And doctors don't like you to do that, but I've kind of done that all along in my life because I get a lot of kidney infections. So my doctors are really good about that. So I came out and I saw amoxicillin, and they had pulled me off of that because it wasn't working on an infection I had. And so I thought, well, that's a broad spectrum. Maybe I'll take that. So I started to take that, and it was twice a day. And I believe I had 5 days of it. And I had called my doctor and said, no, this is what's going on and what I'm doing. So he knew what I was doing. And within a day, the pain was like half of what it was. And I'm like, you know what, God, thank you for coming down, Jesus, and letting me know to go to my bag and take something different for this pain. I was scared. I didn't know what would work. And, you know, that amoxicillin did work on it. So that was my healthcare pothole. And I try not to do that practice. I'll usually call my doctor and say, no, this is what I have a few days of. What do you want me to take? And then we kind of discuss it with all my allergies and stuff. So, but that did happen. And I don't know how many people can say, I actually saw Jesus. I actually saw Jesus. Now, I know some people have seen Jesus when were dying and they were sent back. And I know I had a talk with God and was sent back. And, I don't know for sure if Jesus was going to take me or not at that time. I mean, I had gotten up, gotten dressed, was hanging in there, but still in a lot of pain, and pain in my brain and pain in my ear, and I was miserable. And I said, I feel like the flower in the garden. And he had his hand stretched out to take me, and that was amazing. And it was like I wanted to go so badly because I was tired of pain from neuropathy and my hands and my feet. I can't even feel a needle to sew, and I love to sew. And I can't do that. I can't do anything much with my hands. I can't cook like I used to. I used to make salads and potato salads, macaroni salads, and I have good intent. I buy the stuff, but I just can't get it made because my hands just don't want to work. And so, anyhow, to think about Jesus being there. Now, one thing I said to my brother, I said, I don't understand why I didn't heal the rest of me. I'm still wobbly. I still have hypomagnesium. I still have diabetes. I still have, he just healed my tooth. He didn't heal the rest of me. Why? And, I don't know why, but I do know as I've been watching The Chosen that there was somebody that had used a crutch to get around. I think it was Barnabas. And he says, it's just not your time to get healed. So maybe that's what's going on. And that might have been through that came through to me. I don't know. But I thought, okay. So he's telling me I still have to go and get poked by an IV every other day. And then I was there the other, I'm going to say a couple treatments ago, and there was a guy there that I think battling cancer, and his wife, and we were talking about having difficulty paying our bills. And I pulled out what we're going to do to try to, keep our house for a couple more months. And there's a program, a grant. And so we were talking about it, and I gave his wife the information. So, see, God works in mysterious ways. Maybe I was there to help them out. So, you just when you're on your walk with Christ, you have to trust what's going on. And doctors have come to me with my spinal cord injuries, and they've said, we don't know if you're going to be walking when you leave here, if you're going to be in a wheelchair, what's going to happen. Last time I see 3-4 was injured, and I'm going to talk about that a little later here because I'm running out of videotape, and I got to clear a few more tapes of video off, and then I'll be back. But I just wanted to say, Jesus is here. He is real, and he's moving amongst us right now. I know Revelations talks about the Antichrist, and the Antichrist is supposed to come this year, I think, but I do know Jesus is here, and that was not the Antichrist. That was Jesus. I have seen Jesus. And I'm going to talk about my dad's experience when he was dying next. So, but I wanted to put this out there and let people know that he is real and he's active. And he does listen and he does know what's going on. Have a good one.